Hello friends, we recently got a Starlink and I posted about it on my Instagram stories, and some people just wanted like a more in-depth video and some like general information about what exactly it is, what the process looks like getting one. So I figured I would put that here on YouTube. So it's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today. Pearl is here to talk about the Starlink.
They're actually implanted in her ears.
Let's get started with some general questions of the Starlink. First and foremost being, what is a Starlink? What does it do?
Okay, so a Starlink is a device. It's basically like a satellite dish that connects to low orbit satellites orbiting the Earth, and it allows you to connect to the internet without cell towers.
So essentially, when you set up your Starlink, it is like a satellite dish, like he said, and it points up to the sky, connects to the satellites, and then you don't have to have cell phone service or a hotspot or like cell towers. You don't need anything. You just are connected to Wi-Fi, as if you were in a cafe or something and you had Wi-Fi. How long have we had it, and what was the process purchasing the Starlink?
We've had it for about 4 months now. We were on a waiting list originally, but then they came out with Starlink RV,
right?
Which basically allows you to roam with the Starlink outside of like a zip code. The original Starlink was meant for houses, like if you lived in a really remote area of Montana where there's no cell phone signal, you could buy a Starlink and just like that flip of a switch, be connected to high-speed internet. They divvied out Starlinks based off zip code, but then they came out with the RV one, and now anyone can do it and roam with it. It costs a little bit more per month, but allows you to take it anywhere.
How much does it cost initially and monthly?
So the device itself costs $700, and then it's $135 a month for the service after that.
Compared to a typical hotspot, which is what we have had for the last 5 years on the road, it's obviously more expensive, but the benefits for us have really outweighed some of the cons, like the cost, because obviously this means that you can camp and go anywhere, even if there's no cell phone service, which for people who work remotely, both of us work full-time remotely. So we've never been able, in the last several years of traveling, been able to go to some of these campsites that are absolutely beautiful, but they have no internet. So, we wouldn't be able to work.
Right. So it's like if you buy a hotspot, it's like you're just paying for internet, but it doesn't allow you to get cell phone signal on the top of Mount Baker, right? Whereas if you buy the Starlink, all of a sudden you can. So the places that you're able to go, I mean, you could basically go anywhere. As long as your vehicle can get there, and as long as you're not completely covered by trees, you're pretty much good.
We'll go into some of the cons or some of the issues that we have had in just a few minutes. What was the process like purchasing it? Was it like an easy process?
It's super easy. You just go to starlink.com. It's not,
this sounds sponsored. This is not literally in no way sponsored or affiliated by Starlink.
Setting up a cell phone like on AT&T or whatever is complicated. You have to buy a device, like a plan, like a data per month. There's all these weird bundles and packages and stuff. Starlink owns all the satellites, and they create all the devices. So it's as simple as it gets. You just order the device.
And they're all unlimited. It's the only option.
It's unlimited data. At least that's what it is right now in the beginning. They're probably trying to attract customers in and all that. But yeah, you just go to the website, you create an account, they ship it to you, and then they start billing you $135 a month. That's it.
Yeah. How do you get it out of the van, and what it's like to set that up and how long it takes and stuff? Because you cannot just mount it onto the roof or anything. You do have to put it away. Okay. It's a large satellite, so you have to put it away and then bring it out every campsite, which might be seen as annoying by some, but
that is a con.
It is definitely a con. It's just not that big of a con.
It is a big con.
Okay.
It's a big con. I'm the one who sets it up every time. I'm not complaining.
I guess it is easy for me.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that is annoying. Okay, so we arrive at a campsite. I open up the back. I pull out the box that it's in. I put the dish in the stand so it can basically sit upright. And then normally I'll just put it on the top of my van. That way it's off the ground, away from the dogs. And then I just open up this sliding window and plug it right in, and then basically immediately the dish will come alive, start spinning around, tries to make contact with one of the satellites, And then boom, within like a couple of minutes, you have high-speed internet.
Well, how long does that whole process take you?
About 5 minutes.
Yeah.
About 5 minutes.
Well, no, but it sounds like it wouldn't be that hard. It's only 5 minutes, right? But like, it's like what I've always said about the bed that like folds into a bench. It's like, even that 60 seconds that it takes, it starts to become really annoying. So I do understand what you mean.
It's a daily thing. Yeah. Do you do it every day?
We also do typically camp for like a week or so at a time. So if we camp at this amazing view of Mount Baker and we know we're going to be there for a week or something, you set out the Starlink, and where there is zero cell phone service, like you would not have a shred of cell phone service out there. We have high speed internet. We are watching Netflix. We are like working full time.
How much would you pay to have access to all the most remote campsites, right? Because again, our biggest barrier is cell phone service, right? So those places used to be unavailable to us.
Yeah, like scrolling through iOverlander, we used to like literally search for the best campsite that also had reviews saying that there was cell phone service, which I think is really common in like the van life world and just the traveling world and stuff. Right. And so now that part of our research, when we're looking for a spot to stay, it doesn't even necessarily matter. With the Starlink, you pretty much can go anywhere, which does kind of lead me into any cons that we might experience. One being that you do have to have an unobstructed view. So if you're in like the middle of the woods, it is a little bit, well, it's not just harder.
If you're in the redwood forest, you're not getting service.
There is a 70-foot cable that comes with the Starlink. So even if you are just completely in like the middle of a forest, you're pretty screwed. But if you're just like wanting to park under some shade, you can always take the Starlink, use that 70-foot cable, put it 30 feet away from your van, and you'll still be able to get the high-speed internet in your van under a tree. So as long as there is within 70 feet a pretty unobstructed view of the sky, and you're solid.
They do sell a cord that's 125 feet. So
what other cons is there? You said getting it out each time, the unobstructed view, obviously the cost.
The upload speeds aren't very impressive. So when you're like talking about data stuff, right? Like there's an upload speed and a download speed. The download speed is really fast. That's like your Netflix, things that you're streaming, right? But your upload speeds, they're like, are you backing up photos or videos, putting them in the cloud?
Are you uploading a full YouTube video?
Yeah.
It's still possible. It's just slow.
Yeah. Oh, it works. It's just not lightning fast like the download speeds. Right. So that's just like something to point out.
So what is the general size of the Starlink compared to something? Like how much space does it take up in the van?
It's like I don't know. It's like
you don't have to compare it to Pearl.
I think it's a 20-gallon Husky plastic crate. Costs like $17 and it fits perfectly.
Right. Another pro, I'm sorry that we forgot to say, is that it's waterproof. So you can leave it out in the rain, you can leave it out in the snow. Obviously don't bring it out into like literal water, but the device for the most part is pretty waterproof. So regardless of like the weather, you can always leave it outside, which is honestly so convenient and so nice.
In terms of like pros and cons about it, or just like notable things about it, it's a really good safety device. If something happens to you, you break down on the side of the road in a remote area and you don't have cell phone service, all of a sudden you have a Starlink, you're not stranded. You just plug that sucker in and all of a sudden you can like email people, call people, and get help. So it's a lifeline. The whole idea of driving around with a satellite dish, even now, feels a little antiquated. And like, what am I, like in 5 years?
It feels a little old school.
For right now, it's unbelievable.
We've traveled for the last like so many years, and I feel like this was the best way for us to like elevate that, like bring it to kind of a next level, and it just feels like something new. Like we finally get to go places.
It's freedom.
There's definitely an element of like added freedom to where we're not like tied to places that are close to a town.
The last 2 years we've gone down the Baja Peninsula and just passed all these beautiful remote beaches with blue water and just beautiful, right? And now we can actually go to them and be by ourselves on a beautiful beach for a whole week working remotely. Like that is like what I imagined van life would be like when I first started.
Okay, so how much electrical does it pull in your van versus mine? We have very different electrical systems, so we'll explain both of our electrical setup and what systems it would probably work best, like the Starlink.
So the RV Starlink and like the house Starlink, they're not actually different from a technology perspective. So they're designed to just be plugged into like a house wall and they're just drawing energy. It's not like an RV refrigerator that's like 12 volt and like efficient, right? It's not built like that. So when you plug it into the wall, it starts sucking energy. And I have a really big battery bank, 600 amp hours of lithium.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of solar on the roof. I have 180 watts of solar on the roof, which is not a lot. and I'm not connected to an alternator. So I would say that after like 3 days of the Starlink plugged into my system 24 hours a day, it gets to about 60%, which is when my low voltage alarms go off. And then I'm just like, I'm just going to unplug this thing and then plug it into her van.
I am connected to the alternator, which means that my batteries are charging when I'm driving,
Like
or even when my car is on. Yeah, so it's always getting topped off. I also have 400 watts of solar on my roof, even though I only have 200 amp hours like lithium battery. So I have a smaller battery bank, but it's constantly full and it's constantly getting fed from my solar and from the alternator. And so I've found that like my system does hold the like Starlink up pretty well.
Yeah.
It does not get drained very easily, but I would say the biggest solution is to unplug it all night long. And there's just no reason to have something draining your batteries. Like we might download some Netflix shows, turn it off, watch Netflix, and like not need it while we're sleeping. I do think it's like anything else that you buy, and with a van, you just have to like try it. Kind of just have to test stuff out for yourself and with your system. But for my system and his, we can pretty much run it with no issues.
If your battery system is not like robust, if it's like if you have just enough to like power like a refrigerator or like your devices, getting a Starlink is going to flatten you. And so you have to think about that. So like if you want a Starlink, you need to have a bigger system, like maybe a generator. Maybe you get a generator to run it.
To kind of wrap up everything, I think my feelings around the Starlink are extremely positive. I was totally unsure of what a Starlink was, what it meant. I was really confused. There was not a lot of like content or resources around it when we first got it, even though it was just 4 or 5 months ago. And now every time we pull up into a campsite, I'm like, plug in a Starlink. Like because we just go places now that we were never able to go before, which is super exciting. And yeah, that's kind of my feelings about it. The cons are definitely present and something to be aware of. But I think the pros of it like far outweigh those cons for myself. As somebody who does not have to set it up each time.
I completely agree with you. In my opinion, it's like the way that we go about our traveling life has just changed entirely because of the Starlink. It's like we used to look at iOverlander and check the cellular ratings on a certain spot and be like, I don't know, this doesn't look too... It's like 1 bar of that. Is that going to work for the both of us?
Right.
Like we don't.
Or like
we have work to do.
You check 10 spots and no one even brought up the service, and you're like, son of a bitch. Did any of these places have cell phone service?
You're rolling the dice.
I don't like what you're doing with you.
you're rolling the dice on everything, and so now it's just like, yo, like where's the best spot? Like where is the dopest spot? Where's the spot that's like we could just open the doors, away from all the vans, away from all the clutter, and the Starlink allows you to do that if you work remotely. Our recommendation is to get one.
Absolutely. If you have any other questions about the Starlink that we did not touch on, please leave that in the comment section below. I will read through all of those and I'm happy to answer anything that you might have. I know that there's probably longer and maybe even better videos out there about the topic, but I just wanted to contribute our thoughts because I know there's always like mixed feelings and emotions. We've had a really wonderful experience with it so far. I'm really grateful that like he kind of pushed it and eventually went forward with getting one. And so yeah, I think it's definitely amplified our means of traveling and I'm really excited about that. But thank you for watching this and we'll see you on the road. Bye guys.